I'm here with Tobia Nappi, who has done very, very well this weekend with a wild deck, Izzet Mill. This might be something you want to pick up at home, and we've got Tobia here to chat with us about this list. Tobia, thanks for joining us. This deck, it's not quite a sort of hardcore rusted on mill deck with crabs and the like, but more of an Izzet control deck with a mill finish. Is that right?
I mean, it's not a burn mill deck. It's more of a normal Izzet control deck that wants to slow down the game, to bounce creatures, to remove creatures, and then kind of surprise your opponent. So especially game one, where we thought that maybe a large part of the field wouldn't have been prepared for that plan. So yeah.
Well, we'll come to the finisher in a minute. I want to pick up on the removal. You talked about the interaction, and I want to talk to you about the removal suite that you put together. There's a Braid, there's Flame Blessed Bolt for direct burn spells, and then Fading Hope. But Burn Down the House, how has this card treated you? I mean, it's a very expensive sweeper, but it's quite flexible.
We needed something to reset the board that also hit Planeswalkers, of course. And in that colors, of course, the only draft was Burn Down the House, but also can be a super flexible finish. In the end, if you don't find your Tashas, unfortunately, you can just do a bunch of 1/1s and turn them sideways and try to win the game that way. The removal spells are kind of trying to interact in the early turns. That's what the deck wants to do, because from turn 4 on, you just want to ramp to see your deck, to cycle through your deck and then find your win conditions. So that's why we thought that Fading Up was a huge card, especially against Raffine, because they're not a good red removal spells against that creature, so the best way to deal with that was to bounce it back in their hand. And a Braid was because basically Esika's Chariot, I guess, because was the one thing that we worried about that was out of Burn Down the House, and we wanted to remove that, so we decided with a very good plan, and it turns out that way.
Well, let's talk about ramping and obviously finding the finishing package there. These cards are just huge in stand at the moment, both Unexpected Windfall and Big Score, both the card selection, the ramping that you mentioned. This isn't something you often see in a control deck, a ramp suite.
Yeah, no, we loved it. That's why we fell in love with this deck, having the chance to play 8 Windfall effects with 4 Galvanic Iteration was something that we fell in love at first sight, and we need to find something good with these cards, and we did it, so we're super happy.
Well, let's talk about the something good that you can find here. This is the finishing suite, and my goodness me, I guess without Alrund's Epiphany, you need to find cool new stuff to copy with Galvanic Iteration. This time around, it's Tasha's Hideous Laughter and Invoke Calamity. Talk to us about how these cards work, and are you ever wanting to cast the Laughter early, or is it just as a finisher with Invoke Calamity?
Almost always in the end. A lot of the times you just discard the first Tashas to one of the Windfalls because you just want to slow down the game and then win in one turn. A lot of the time, as you said, the old Epiphany stuff, you just slow down the game until you can win. Also with the open deck list, you can count exactly how many mana value your opponent has in your deck, and then do the math and one-shot them. So yeah, basically it's almost always a finisher.
Well, that's wild. I mean, for mill majors out there, I know they'll really enjoy the sensation of burning their opponent's deck to smithereens in one fell swoop. So thanks so much, Tobia, for joining us and walking us through this deck. And well done on a very solid performance in Standard across this weekend with it.
Thanks.